Hi, everyone. My name is Eddy Gana. I am a mental health counselor of SIPA, Search to Involve Filipino Americans. My gender pronouns are they, them, he, him. And I am so excited to be chatting here with Jericho Malabonga, or Jerry, right?
Yeah.
And so Jerry here is a Filipino-Australian winner of Season 2 Survivor Australia. And so here from the States, well, my background in historic Filipino town, LA, all the way down to Australia. Actually, where you come from, like in Australia right now? Like, how's it like?
Yeah, well, it's raining right now.
It's
It was
raining.
hailing 5 minutes ago.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's winter here, so wish I was in San Francisco or LA right now where it is sunny. So yeah, missing the
No, for
sun.
sure. For sure, for sure. I mean, yeah, we're, in the summer heat right now. Obviously, with the time difference, it's nighttime here and then daytime over there. But I'm so happy to connect with you, Jerry, and congratulations with, winning Survivor Australia. Could imagine that was pretty tough. I can't see myself doing a reality TV show like that. So salute to you.
Thank you so much. I mean, it was a big experience, and I knew I was coming into it, and I thought to myself, "Oh, I'll give it a good crack." And
Mm.
what do you know? I got the good results.
I mean, I could imagine it takes a lot of determination as well as um, like mental, emotional energy to push through, right? And that comes also with mental health. And that's where my background comes into play. I strongly feel about the importance of mental health with our Filipino American community or Filipino Australian community, our Filipino community, because with mental health, there's that stigma where it's like, oh, don't really want to talk about it.
Mm,
Or if you are showing signs of depression, feeling sad or low, might be written off as being lazy or just unmotivated
mm,
when there's a deeper meaning to it, a more complex notion with mental
mm.
health. And so, from what I hear, and through the work that you do, that you are an advocate for mental health and especially men. Can you tell me more about that? What caused you to become a strong advocate?
Yeah, thanks for introducing me that way. I imagine being introduced like that every day. But advocate, it's more so, I guess I'd like to say someone who just likes to talk about it and bring light to the situation.
Mm.
Um, in terms of being an advocate,
Mm-hmm.
I guess I suppose that I've just been involved in a lot of fundraising events and especially platforms where I've been privileged to be asked to be part of them. So one of them was I Am Hope, and that's run by Ty Tupo, and we started talking on a podcast about it. And he's from New Zealand, and he focuses more on the young men, which is really prevalent in your statistics. I think I'm hearing like 66% of suicides are men, which is crazy because like
That's wild.
that's in line with Australia as well. So you look at this and you kind of go, um, suicide is already a crazy, a rising thing that's happening in our generation. But what's more like alarming is that men is 2/3 of the statistics, and that's where my focus has become like really strongly on.
Yeah, I mean, like with men, studies have shown that men are more likely to even use more harsh means to accomplish and to complete suicide, and that is a an issue that I commend you for raising awareness about. How
Mm,
suicide impacts men, also impacts women too. Think
mm,
about depression and sadness and the thoughts of not wanting to be here anymore. Um, Here in America, studies have shown that 1 out of 5 people experience a mental disorder at least one
mm,
time in their life. And so I could imagine that these statistics here may also, you know, apply there in Australia and across the world. And so it's very important that we have conversations like this so that it's not so taboo, right? It's not something to be like, oh, you don't
Yeah.
talk about that enough, you know? Um,
Yeah.
so it's in a way being open because
Mm.
in my experience as a mental health counselor, and you know, as an advocate too, even before you know, I got my degree and all that, is you know, to be there for one another, to be open, to be a support system. So how have you been a support system for folks around you regarding this issue?
Yeah. So, you know, maybe a year or two ago, I went to a Stitch in Time, which is run by Greg, who's a NBL player here in Australia, and he's a big name in Perth. You know, vice captain of Wildcats basketball team, and he raises like funds by organizing events, and these funds goes to programs like mental programs and leadership programs, which he tries to penetrate into schools, because he knows that when, you know, from his own experience, when he was a troubled kid, he realized like how prevalent mental illness was like amongst teenagers. And sometimes, you know, especially boys, and I when I say boys and men, I try not to say it in a way where, you know, females are less significant. I think they're both equally just as important, but I put it on, I bring it to light with men because you know, we have this ideology that having emotions and being a man,
Yeah.
two and two doesn't like add up. It doesn't work. It doesn't make you. It doesn't add up to what they consider a strong man, or what it is to be a lad. And I just feel like we need to get rid of this old tradition way of thinking. But unfortunately, because, you know, people who are now in their 30s and 40s are still bringing it to their lifestyle, because say their parents had taught this is the way to be a strong man, and crying and showing emotions is a sign of weakness. But it's so cool to see people like a basketball player, an athlete, who have are showing that, you know, these guys are strong guys who are athletes in their own field, in their trade, and they're showing, you know what, it ain't weak to speak and show that you can have emotions. And I really like that, because now people who are, I guess, you know, the big buff dudes can find some sort of common ground and relate to it, and they're like, oh whoa, I can show emotion, I can show a bit of like tear and stuff, and not come across weak. So it's cool.
No, definitely. Like what resonated with what you shared is that whole idea of it to be relatable and accessible. And so that's great how there's that program, you know, that education with the youth, and just to break down those barriers, those misconceptions that it's okay to cry. You know, for us appearing as male, you know, with our male privilege, and like, oh, what is tough, and oh, we're not supposed to show emotion, right? Well, the fact of the matter is that if we keep on holding on our emotions inside, just think of our bodies like a bottle, right? It just keeps on building and building and building, and then at one point it's going to explode. And by explosion, it could look like anger, it could look like perhaps maybe thoughts of suicide. And so, yeah, that's very important with the work that you're doing there in Australia, and the work that's being done by your community folks.
In SIPA, like in SIPA, what do you guys do on the mental health side, especially in your field, in your area? What things do you guys tend to do with the community that's around you guys?
Yeah. So at SIPA, I provide family counseling. So these are to Filipino families all across LA County. And so before the pandemic, you know, pre-pandemic, was able to enter their homes and be thankful for them to welcome me in, and able to talk about that conflict that's happening within the home that's not being said yet, that you may feel the tension.
Yeah, right.
Notions of child abuse. And so by having an open environment, ultimately a safe space where a son, a daughter can speak to the mom and father, or single parent about how they're struggling through school, about how it's affecting their grades. It's not just them feeling like laziness, right? It's not that. It's a greater issue at hand. And so that's one way that we have provided services at SIPA. Another one is through education, like what you talked about with the work that's being done there. And that's through mental health first aid. And it's interesting too, because mental health first aid was founded in Australia.
Yeah, right.
This program is a koala. And so like every time I give this training, I show the koala, and the koala's name is Algae, and it's an acronym. And it's like with a CPR, you know, CPR, there's an acronym for that too. So Algae is broken down. It's like assess for risk of suicide or harm, listen non-judgmentally, give reassurance information, encourage professional self-help, and encourage appropriate professional help, and encourage self-help and other support strategies. So Algae.
Wow.
And,
that's so
just
cool.
break it down.
That's so cool. And how would these people say they needed, you know, those kind of like help and support? Like, how would they reach to you, or how do they, I guess, hear from you as a way to contact you?
Yeah, so with SIPA, we do our community outreach. And, you know, before pre-pandemic, it was all, you know, in person at an event in historic Filipino town or across LA. I would come through, I would table, I make an announcement. Also, one other thing that we're doing now is more of the webinar online format. So back in May, did this series called Wellness Wednesdays. And so every Wednesday of that month, in honor of Mental Health Awareness Month and Asian Pacific American Heritage Month, was talking about how to destigmatize mental health. And then giving folks access to resources and let them know that we do provide mental health first aid trainings.
Cool. Awesome. That's awesome.
With the work that I do and the work that you do, I mean, we're in the field all together. I truly believe that it is a community effort to, you know, break down like what is mental health, what is the difference between mental illness and mental wellness. Even the language around that, where it's seen as more negative, and, you know, change it around to more positive.
Yeah, I really think you're right on that, because I put my hand up to being guilty for believing that mental illness legit didn't exist. I mean, maybe about 3 years ago, I just was so uneducated, and I thought to myself like, oh, anyone who was depressed was just someone who just didn't have a strong will and easily broke down. And as I started to learn how prevalent it was around me, and even amongst my own friends and circle of people, that's when it really hits you, and you go, man, this is real. And I think especially in this kind of time where we're in this crazy, uncertain time, pandemic, people say, you know, coronavirus is like the invisible enemy. But I also think, like, don't we already have that invisible enemy that's so silent, which is the mental illness that you can bring home. You can close the doors, turn off the lights, and what's still turned on is like the mind inside of you, and it's telling you and whispering you the things that, you know, to be anxious of and to be stressed about. That's something that you bring home, and it's like it's just as silent and deadly as a coronavirus, you know?
I mean, so with that, you mentioned how, you know, your mind got open and more receptive to mental health. How did you help like friends, family members going through a mental health problem? I always love to hear from, you know, from advocates.
So it's crazy because you know, I went into the show Survivor, for anyone who doesn't know, that's tuned in. I went on the show, and I didn't go in there for the spotlight. I wasn't there to try to get fame. I grew up with the show, watching it, the American version, of course, and it was an amazing show. And when it came up here in Australia, I thought, oh, I could do it. And I gave it a good crack, and I got the win and everything. And with it comes spotlight and a bit of like social media and exposure. And that's not normal for an ordinary person. Usually you only have like your friends and maybe their friends of friends, but when
Mm-hmm.
you have a lot of people commenting and just adding their 2 cents and stuff, it you know, I don't usually get ruffled, but I do. And you know, there's a few comments that obviously will say a few things. I'm like, that's not what happened, and you try and defend yourself. And it took a lot for me to finally get to a point where, oh, it shouldn't affect me. But there are some castaways that I know who were hit hard with the social media and the I guess like social media abuse, and it really took a toll on their mental health. So that's when I was like, man, like I I didn't think it would be this bad, but when people get to a point where they're at their lowest point,
Mm-hmm.
um, that's when it really becomes real, and it gets to a point where you go, oh, you know, sometimes people think it's just a play on words, that you know that they're depressed or something, but when it's getting to the point where their life is at a threat, that's when you go, shoot, man, like what can I
Mm-hmm.
do to help?
Mm, yeah.
And so I've just started raising awareness, whether that's to just speak out about it and share my thoughts,
Yeah.
um, and I guess in a way, like this small platform that I have, I suppose
Your
that can still make a
platform. Yeah.
difference.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, I mean, yeah, definitely like about raising awareness, bringing
yeah.
light to the issue. And thank you for doing that. And with social media and how it impacts mental health, I mean,
Mm,
that's real. I feel like that's across borders, from the United States to Australia. We're all dealing with this pandemic right now, and most of us, many of us, may be, working at home, trying to abide by the essential activities, staying
mm,
limited. And what do we have access to? We have access to our smartphones, to technology, and it can be
yeah.
overwhelming at times. And what you mentioned about feeling down at the bottom, that sense of hopelessness, like that's real. And what's key
Mm,
is acknowledging that and recognizing it, because once you do, then the hope and the encouragement is that you're able to then push forward. But it comes with that self recognition, that self awareness, community awareness that you're doing right now.
yeah.
Yeah.
And I think the biggest like takeaway from this is that,
Yeah.
you know, like words are super powerful, and you, like when people exchange them, they kind of give them with thinking that there's no weight. But like
Mm,
just because I went say on a show or whatever, or even a celeb or whatever, or anyone that's got some sort of like name,
mm,
doesn't make them invincible. They're just ordinary human beings who happens to be on TV, and yeah, like words can be just as powerful and hurtful.
mm,
And like
mm,
I don't know, I think it's just from when I see people like deteriorate from the opinions of others, I just kind of go like, man, I really wish that there's just a bit of more kindness and love and like
mm-hmm.
support. And I think this is the coolest thing, this community that
Yeah.
you know, Pistahan, I apologize if I pronounced it wrong, and also SIPA. If you
Uh-huh.
like, this kind of community is so awesome for anybody who needs a bit of like just um, community around them and support. And
Mm-hmm.
and I think just get around it. Like it's the best thing for your health. And
Mm-hmm.
for me, I get my fuel from people.
Yeah.
And I know there's introverts who likes to only do one-on-ones and stuff, but I'm pretty
Yeah.
sure that you will find like that one person that you connect with
Uh-huh.
in that community
That's
group,
one.
and you guys could just do like a coffee, and it just takes that one person.
That's true.
Honestly, just one person
That's
makes a
true.
difference.
Yes, no, definitely. Totally resonate with that. Yeah, it definitely takes that one person to connect with and to give a person that hope, to ignite that spark, that motivation to keep on going, to find that balance again. And so, with everything that's been said today, and words are powerful. So, thank you, Jerry, for highlighting
Thank you.
that. You know, it's through these conversations that we're able to break that stigma. On the other side of it, what's also important too is listening too. So thank you for all the folks who are listening, and also if you're thinking about how to speak to family members and friends, listening is key. But first, what comes first though is assessing your capacity, your own boundaries, right? To have these type of conversations, which could be difficult, which could be hard for you or your family member or friend. Your safety is important, but assessing that first, you know, see like, oh, am I okay to speak to my mother about how I'm feeling today? And if you feel that you are, you know, able to do so, then come from that genuine space. So as we wrap up today, talking about mental health and how it impacts us pre-pandemic, current pandemic, one day post-pandemic, hopefully being hopeful for the future. Again, words are powerful. So Jerry, thank you for highlighting that and bringing that to the forefront, and for having this conversation with me here in Filipino Town. Shouts out to Pistahan. Definitely a great collaboration. Continue to look out for all the different programs that we'll be having throughout today and this weekend. And how, actually, before that, like, Jerry, how can folks get connected with you, stay connected, you know, continue that conversation with you?
Biggest advice is, and for anyone who's tuning in, hello Pistan, everyone. I just wanted to say, like, biggest advice is probably to reach out to anyone, even if it's your friends or your acquaintances, anyone, because you'll find out that there are more good people out there that are willing to help out and listen to you, because more than anything, they've probably gone through the same thing as you have. Or going through the same thing as you have, and you'll be surprised. That's probably my biggest advice. Otherwise, just insta message me and I'll give you a laugh.
Okay. Well, what's your social media? How can folks?
Oh, it's Jerry Mowgli, like Jerry with Mowgli, like from the Jungle Book. And you'll see me. It's like this little Smeagol-looking kid on the profile picture. That's me.
There you go, folks. So yeah, so in the words of Jerry, you know, reach out. You may be able to find that one person. Hopes, yeah, you will find that one person to resonate with your story, and you always will have Jerry. So go ahead and connect with him on social media to stay connected. You know, no matter where you are in the world. That's the beauty of technology, and that we're able to foster and maintain these connections throughout Filipino American and Filipino Australian community. To stay connected with myself, so again, my name is Eddy Gana, and I'm based in historic Filipino Town, SIPA, search Involve Pilipino Americans. Our Facebook is facebook.com/SIPA Cares, and our social media is at SIPA Cares, SIPA CARES, SIPA Cares. And in terms of other resources where you're at, if you are here in the States, I would like to recommend the National Suicide Prevention Lifeline. That number there is 800-273-8255. Again, it is 800-273-8255. Now, perhaps conversations or talking to someone on the phone can be intimidating. There's also a text option too, which is national, and that's the crisis text line. So all you need to do is text 741-741. That's it. You can just text LA if you're coming from LA. You can just text hello, and it'll connect you with someone to assist you through whatever troubles and worries that you may be experiencing. So definitely recommend that. And if you want to reach out to me at SIPA, our social media, and we are in Filipino Town, but stay safe at home, y'all. So Jerry, as we close out today, in solidarity, what we'd like to do from Filipino Town to your Filipino Town is an isang bagsak. Have you heard about isang bagsak?
No, what is that? Is that sorry, I'm really bad with Tagalog, but try and translate that.
Isang bagsak means one down, one fall, onto the next. So
cool.
It was used during the civil rights movement to unite Filipino American and Mexican American agricultural workers. It was used during the People Power movement in the Philippines and by youth here in the States. And usually it's done with the unity clap. And I think, you know what? Let's have fun with it because it's us two.
Yeah, let's do it.
Also, the folks who are joining us, y'all can join in too.
Okay.
Yeah. So it goes like this, where we clap slowly, like your heartbeat, right? And then as you start to go, it'll go faster, 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 faster. And then we all say, Itang Bagsak, clap together as one in solidarity here at
Okay.
Pistahan.
Sweet.
Okay?
I'll follow your lead.
All right, follow my lead. Because again, with that whole kapwa, the togetherness vibe, it's about solidarity. So one of us fall, we all fall. One of us rise, we all rise. So let's all rise together.
Exactly.
All right, here we go. Let's start slow. Yeah. Isang bagsak.
Honestly, I didn't know I didn't know if I pronounced it right, but I tried.
Got it. You're good. You know, and it's in solidarity from the heart. So
Yeah.
thank you again, Jerry. I hope to meet you one day in person once it's all safe. And yeah, salute to all the work that you're doing there. Continue to raise that awareness about mental health.
Likewise, you too.
All right. Ingat. Peace. Take care, y'all.